Hello, 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 everyone out there tuning in. I'm starting to see people logging in, tuning in. So just welcome, welcome, welcome to Move the Crowd's monthly live webcast. I'm Dana Policki. I'm an engagement strategist with Move the Crowd, the nation's first entrepreneurial training company dedicated to helping the next generation stay true, get paid. And I'm in beautiful Venice, California in the morning. Quite different than my usual New York City haunts. And then we've got our East Coast to West Coast here. And welcome to all of you in the North, the South, and all in the middle. Tonight we'll have the pleasure of spending the next 45 minutes or so with entrepreneurial soul coach and Move the Crowd CEO and founder, the lovely Miss Rha Goddess, right? As well as our booming and beautiful Move the Crowd community, and our special guest, Michael Skolnick, and who is yes, thank you for joining us tonight. And he's also the keynote for our upcoming mastermind, which we'll mention a few times throughout the event. And this is our live day-long training in New York City, happening September 26th. You can find out more information about it going to our website, movethecrowd.me, or looking at any of our tweets. We're at True Paid Good is our handle. And then we'll send you some more information about it if you're interested. And just a word here on Michael before I hand it over to Rha. Michael is a mega creative. Right? He's an entrepreneur. He's a writer. He's a civil rights activist. He's the president of GlobalGrind. And we're so excited to have him here tonight to just talk with all of us and be in dialogue and take our questions around what it is to be an activist and an entrepreneur, right? To be purposeful and profitable, to really hold your values and hold a vision, and how to build both of them in alignment with who you truly are. So before I hand it over to Rha, I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about Move the Crowd in case you are brand new to us. You are like, who are these people? You're in good company, trust me. But as I mentioned, we're an entrepreneurial training company focusing really on conscious entrepreneurs and cultural creatives. And we work with clients to leverage their unique creativity, their strengths, and their passion, right, into tangible and profitable results. And through our True Paid Good Academy, which is our year-long, our 9-month-long intensive, where you're paired with your own coach, entrepreneurs really emerge with the vision to move forward, right, with the knowledge to up their game and the power to achieve their own flavor of success, right? This isn't about cookie cutter. This is about what is most meaningful for you and what you want to share with your community. So you can join us always for these live webcasts. They're usually on the first Thursday of every month. This month we're on the second Thursday, but usually first Thursday. And you can also engage with us through our blog and through, we're on Twitter, of course, like everyone else, and on Facebook. And then also if you're in the New York area, or if you are getting a travel bug, right, you can meet us at or join us at our live mastermind on September 26th in New York City. So we'll talk more about it as promised. And like I said, Michael is our keynote. And so for those of you who are new to us, Rha will tell you more, how to get to know us for free with a strategic consult also with one of our expert coaches. So there's just so much. We can't wait to get with you. Okay, so back to tonight. We'll be taking questions on the page interface. So if you've that's the only way that you probably got into this page, and so you can either type them right into the page, or I'll take them also via Twitter. I'll be looking at our handle at TruePaidGood, and you can use the hashtag AskMTC, as in Move the Crowd, AskMTC. So I'll be watching both. All right, and Rha, I hand it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dana. Hey, everybody. I hope all is well and wonderful in your world. And I cannot wait to dig in, but I want to just kind of set us up powerfully for how we're going to spend our time. And so, as you all know, this is how we do. This is our tip of the month. We're always engaging with the monthly theme, and this month's theme of September is invest and grow. Invest and grow. So your opportunity tonight and engaging with us is, one, to gain a new level of clarity about where you're being called to invest and grow, to cultivate a different relationship with that which is essential to your success and understanding what that is, to be willing to have exactly what you need, the right skills, the right team, the right support, the right collaborators, and then finally to see the long game and to celebrate your progress every step of the way. When we are cultivating a vision for our lives and for the contribution that we want to be in the world, it can be hard to know all of the things we'll need to acquire in order to get there. More often than not, the path is winding, blind corners, sharp curves, steep inclines. There is the interior work, first of all, right, which is rooted in our personal professional growth and development, and the knowledge, the qualities, the skill sets, and habits that we are invited to acquire and strengthen in order to hold our greatest dreams and aspirations. And then there is the external work that we must learn to navigate in order to move from where we are to where we want to be, and in order to become the best stewards of the tools and relationships and resources that become available to us along the way. Whether we're on the path or desperately trying to find it, my people, who there is to be, what there is to do in order to have what we want to have can sometimes be overwhelming. Can I get an amen? There are moments when we are crystal clear in action, loving life, feeling good, getting it done, and then there are moments when we are unclear, where we're going, who we should be listening to, what we should be doing next, if we are moving in the right direction, if we're moving too fast, too slow, all of that comes up for us. Overwhelming indeed. And in those moments of uncertainty, our ability to prioritize is often compromised by our ability to slow down and listen, to quell the noise so that we can consult our highest wisdom about what is really important. Sometimes when we consult that wisdom, it tells us something that makes no sense whatsoever. We're like, huh? And sometimes when we consult that wisdom, we are asked to engage in things that are hard or unpleasant or unpopular or inconvenient or tedious or time-consuming. And it could take everything in our power not to roll our eyes and suck our teeth and just want the damn thing to be over. Time is such a precious resource, and yet most of us struggle with reconciling what we say is important versus where we actually put our attention and our energy. Much like we have a hard time, many of us, right, materializing the kind of money we want and need and believe we should have. There is a common saying in business that 20% of where we spend our time and what we do is actually what is essential and accounts for 80% of our success. So if we spent more time on those essential tasks, then our ventures and our lives, for that matter, would thrive and prosper on a whole new level. If there's only so many hours in a day, then how do we determine what and define what is essential? And what does it take to develop the loving discipline to bring our time, attention, energy, and resources to that? This month, we get to develop a new level of mastery in being able to both define and focus on that which is essential for us, for those we love, and for the kind of world we want to see. This month, we get to invest and grow. And I cannot think of anyone else that I would want to be having this conversation with at this time than this guy right here. So you all help me give a phenomenal Move the Crowd welcome to creative change agent, mover, shaker, philosopher, investor, activist, social justice, game changer, Mr. Michael Skolnick and his son, Mateo. Yeah. I already knew Mateo was coming, Michael.
He wants to be with his daddy, so hey, Mateo, how you got talking to TV, okay?
Hey, Mateo.
Okay? You say hi to the people? You say hi to daddy's friends?
Hi, daddy's friends.
Oh, hey, Mateo.
What is that?
That's a lady. She's in California. That's another lady. She's in New Jersey. Can daddy do some talking and then we'll come hang out and we'll play a little bit?
No.
No. We said nothing. Wait, let me be right there.
Oh.
Come.
Yes, The realities.
Yeah.
The reality.
The realities of being a game changer and a daddy. So
And a
here we
daddy,
go.
right? We're
Yeah.
adding daddy to that list for sure,
This
for
is part
sure.
of the- This is true investment and growth right there.
Oh, word is bond. So, Michael, we're so thrilled to have you. And of course, this is just the beginning. We're going to be, mixing it up over the next couple of weeks, really getting ready for our live mastermind, which, is happening on Saturday, September 26th, and where you are going to continue to lay it down. And we're just going to kind of get a taste of what we can expect in that conversation. And, you and I have been talking a lot about this idea of investment and growth. And I would love for you to start from, like, what is your earliest memory? What's the earliest memory you have of being invested in, and what was pivotal about that investment for you?
So I was probably Mateo's age. Now I think I was probably 11 or 12, and I started a baseball card trading business. And as I reflect back on it, two things stuck out. So I love baseball. I love baseball cards, but I also thought there's a lot of money to be made in baseball cards, and so I would convince my friends to trade their father's or mother's collections for, like, a Shaq rookie card. complete exploitation of their ignorance of what the worth was of their parents' baseball card collection. And I'd trade them, like, Alonzo Mourning, Shaquille O'Neal, and Derek Coleman rookies for Mickey Mantles, and it was terrible. So I, out of that, built a business, and I remember there was a guy. He would see me selling my baseball cards in the town I grew up in, and he made me business cards. And that was the first time I realized that, like, wow, I'm a business person. Like, I got a business. I was buy, sell, trade was on my baseball, was on my business card. And then I remember there was a guy in town. He might have been in high school. He might have been in college, but he was, like, a cool guy. And he would come by my little baseball card stand, and he gave me a nickname. And he called me Diamond Mike. I don't know why he called me Diamond Mike, but he said, you're Diamond Mike. And it felt real. It felt like, okay, I got a business. And I'd go to the card shows, and I'd sell my business and my cards, and I was Diamond Mike. And so it was very small investments of, like, acknowledging that what I was doing was a real business. Until I was 11 or 12 years old, it was more than just a hobby, and I was actually, like, I would sell at 11, 12 years old. I would sell $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 worth of baseball cards at a baseball card show on a given Saturday. And then the guy gave me, I still have one left. I wish it's somewhere in my house. I had one left. We just moved. I don't know where it is. And and on the back of the one I have left was like I hand wrote a raffle ticket. So I must have, like, been giving away a baseball card and used my business cards as raffle tickets. Wow. So that I've never told that story, but that was the moment I really felt it was my first, like, entrepreneurial gig. First time I did it. Yes, sir. Daddy's talking.
At the ripe old age of 11.
Right.
And it's interesting because, what you're naming, like, this person that made these business cards for you, and then this person that kind of anointed you, Diamond Mike, as you look at those experiences, and there's this way that you sort of said to yourself, yo, I'm in business. How have you continued to utilize those, like, that lesson, or that, are there times when you're in a situation where this idea of someone being able to see your potential has made a difference for you?
Well, I think I've learned a lot of, for those who don't know, and I don't want to be a name dropper, he just has signed my checks for the past 6 years. So I've worked for Russell Simmons for the past 6 years, 6.5 years, almost 7. And one thing he's taught me a lot over that course of time was intention, right? And if you're going to say something, do it. And in the space we're in today, and with the communication, technology, and innovation we have, as some of us have, or many of us have, at least all of us probably have right now, who are watching a Google Hangout, at our fingertips. You know, today, if I want to open a record company, I'm Skolnik Records. I got a record company, right? And I'm gonna put it out there. I'm gonna produce records, and my friends and those who I love and those who are around me, they have to hold me accountable to those intentions. So at that young age, my intention was to be a baseball card salesperson. That was my intention, and I did it. And I think the adults in town saw this 11-year-old kid in the little, you know, town square with his baseball cards set out every, you know, weekend, and they said, you know, so it's intention, and I also think that it's someone who's just saying, okay, yeah, you got a record business, I see that. You know, you got a baseball card company, I see that. You know, you have a entrepreneurship coaching, you know, 21st century way of looking at business company, I see that, and that fuels the confidence. It fuels the belief that you actually can do it. So you do need people around you who believe in you. But intention is putting it out in the universe and saying, I am going to be an attorney, or I am going to be a homeopathic doctor, or I am going to be the best father I possibly can be, and putting that in the universe, and then having people around you who hold you accountable to that.
So this is really beautiful, Dana, because we're going to start to sort of track these tips. So tip number one is this idea of the power of intention, and then number two is having people around you. And we're going to talk a lot more about that as we get deeper into the conversation tonight, right? Having people around you who can hold you accountable to what it is you say you want, right? Brendan Burchard calls the X factor having a coach, right? Because it's one of the things that a coach will do is will hold you accountable to who it is you say you are, right? And what it is you say you want to create.
That's right.
So you are, for me, incredibly, wonderfully unique in the sense of you are an artist, you are an activist, and you are an entrepreneur. And you play hard and go hard in all three of those lanes, right? And so it's, you know, you're not closeted in any one of those three. You are full on and full out, my brother, right? And so I would love to hear you talk a little bit about, like, are those identities ever at odds for you? I want to start there, and then I have a part two to that. But the first question is, are those identities ever at odds for you? And what happens when that tension shows up for you?
Well, you know, money's a motherfucker, right? And so you can be controlled by it, or you could do great things with it, or you could be scared of it, or be envious of it. And I remember when I was in high school, you know, your childhood is so impactful to unpack, and the relationships you have. You know, you think about this. I've known people at this point in my age way longer than I knew some of my high school friends. But yet you go on Facebook and don't lie, you go on Facebook and like, whatever happened to that girl who didn't give me the time of day when I was in high school? Whatever happened to the guy who was really popular who kind of dissed me that one time and made me feel bad in high school, right? But I haven't seen those people in 20 years. But those relationships and your relationship with your parents or your guardian or whoever took care of you growing up are so impactful to unpack. And so I think a lot about how to unpack those moments. And in high school, I used to get a lot from teachers. Don't forget about us. When you're famous, you better come back. Your name is going to be in the big lights. You know, don't act like you don't know us. And when you're in high school, you're like, damn, I'm going to be famous. Like, I'm going to be in Hollywood. They're going to be in the lights because they're telling you these things. But in actuality, it actually sets you up for failure, because it sets you up to tell a young person that it sets you up for thinking that your name in lights or being famous is that success, right? And that's where happiness is found. And so, and oftentimes, and money is equated or is part of that quest. And so I have been able to unpack money from success. And so that's, but when I can't unpack money from success, that's where it comes at odds, right? So I just, we just bought this home a month ago. It's a new home for us, and my mother would say to me, we lived in the same home for 13 years, and my mother would say to me, "Why do you all live here? You could afford a much bigger place, like a much bigger place." And I said, "We feel great where we are." And I drive a 2008 used car, and my mother says, "Why don't you buy a much nicer car?" I said, "I love I love this car, right?" And so where do you find happiness? My happiness does not come from big things. This is a Uniqlo shirt. It's a $29 shirt. It feels really nice on me. I like the way it feels. In fact, in between the tech check and the live time, I gave my son a bath, and he splashed me with water, and I went and I put it in my dryer so I could wear it tonight because I like the way it feels. So instead of going to change my shirt, I kept the shirt on and I dried it for 5 minutes so it wasn't so wet. So it's what brings happiness. And so for me, when my entrepreneurship and my activism or my social justice work is at odds, it's usually when my head is twisted around money.
Woo!
And I think that is what success is. Success is giving the money away, right? Success is having a friend come to your office and saying, "Look, I have an amazing organization and we're struggling right now and we need 10 grand, to get, to the end of the year. Can you help?" That's where money becomes successful, not when I buy a $200, whatever shirt and I live in a, whatever building and I drive a whatever car. And so I've unpacked a lot of it, not all of it, right? But a lot of it to really have a real relationship with money and really understand my relationship with money and not be afraid to feel uncomfortable sometimes when I have it, or not be afraid to feel uncomfortable when I want more of it, or not to be afraid to be envious of others who have more than I have, and recognize those are natural feelings. But when you pretend that I don't want it or that makes me happy, then your relationship with money becomes very complicated and slightly problematic.
So powerful, Michael, what you're saying, and I've
never said that ever before in my life. So I
could tell. I could tell it was coming to you as you were speaking it. Like I'm watching you in real time here, but it's so profound that I really want to underscore this idea of how do we separate money from success. I think is a very, very profound exploration, especially for us as entrepreneurs, who are seeking to make a difference in the world. Right, because we understand that money has a place, and I think our ability to get to a healthy place around the place that we want money to have, right, in our venture, in our lives, in our visions, is if dare I say probably 85% of the struggle, right? And we listen to entrepreneurs every day, all day, right? Yeah. So I love what you're naming, because what you're also inferring in that is that when the money is giving you an identity, that's when you get in trouble. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So there's this way that money and identity becomes synonymous, that's right. When you start to struggle with the truth of who you are.
And look, Rha, I mean, if I drove a $200,000 car, right, which maybe I can't afford, I don't know. If I drove a $200,000 car and I had a $30,000 Rolex watch, which I don't have, right, on my wrist, it's not anywhere in my house either, so don't think I took it off. Some people would be like, damn, Skolnick's doing something with his life. I should work with him. He's making money, right? I should do business with him. Wow, right? People buy into that shit. Like, people really buy into that. And Donald Trump's been great at that. He's been great at the facade of, I'm the billionaire, I make money everything I do, when in fact he bankrupted 3 companies and he had a lot of struggle in business, right? Although he's been successful in other places, a lot of struggle in business. So people play that role. And it's enticing to play because the response is like, wow, people are attracted to me because of my watch, or because of my Gucci handbag, or because of my big car. Now, I've decided for me, like this $29.90 shirt, I've tried on a lot of shirts. This shirt feels the best
Right.
on my body, and so this is all I want. I don't need a $250 shirt. I just don't need it. It's excessive. Yeah. It doesn't make me feel better. So I'm successful right now because I found like clothes that I feel good in.
Yeah.
That make me feel comfortable. And your beautiful green earrings, those might have cost $4, those might have cost $400, but they make you feel good. And you feel when you look in the mirror, and when I look at you, you look beautiful. And that and so no matter what we play, what role we play, or what we put on, or what we drive, or what house we have, at the end of the day, I don't want to do business with people who are impressed by that kind of stuff. I want someone to sit with me naked, and look at me in my soul without anything around and say, "Wow, I feel this guy," and I want to work with this guy, and I want to be around this guy, and then the money's easy.
Yeah, so great. Right.
Like,
it's so powerful what you're naming because, this is the new paradigm, right? And it really isn't. I mean, because there are people who are old-timers who've understood these principles forever, right? And even if you dig into the old work of Earl Nightingale, Napoleon Hill, like Wallace Wattles, who y'all know is a Move the Crowd classic, right? These principles have existed, but there is a way, as you said, sort of through commercialism, they've gotten twisted over time. I'm curious, right, because you've held these three identities, what has your artist taught you about your activism? And what has your activist taught you about entrepreneurship? So what has your artist taught you about activism? And then what has your activist taught you about entrepreneurship?
Well, I was a theater major. And so one of the great heavyweights of theater, Paul Robeson, one of our great,
no question,
one of our greatest Americans, on so many levels, but certainly as a theater artist, one of the greats, if not the greatest. Harry Belafonte, who's also one of the greatest. Right? I've had the blessing to spend time with, and he said, my mentor, Paul Robeson. You think like, damn, like you knew the man, like you knew MLK, you knew Paul Robeson, they knew you. And he reminds us often about Paul Robeson, that the artist is the gatekeeper of truth. And as an artist, it's your job to be truthful. The great artists, the ones you watch on stage or on film or in music or in visual art or in dance, that you feel some reflection of truthfulness and authenticity, whether it's of yourself, of society, of the moment. And the great ones, who are movie stars, also translate to theater because you're raw and you're on stage. So the Meryl Streeps can go back and forth between theater and film, and she's just as good on stage as she is on cinema. And that you're trained, right? You're trained in tapping into an inner truth as an artist. And many of us and many of them, are considered crazy, or Vincent Van Goghs, or the ones, Nina Simone's, right? The Lauryn Hills, the ones the Dave Chappelle's, the ones who we can't fully understand what's going on. Why would Dave Chappelle walk away from $50 million? Like, how do you? That's crazy. He must be high on crack. Something must be wrong with him. But in fact, he wasn't tapping into his inner truthness, and he wanted that. He wanted that feeling. I don't know him. I've only listened to his conversations. And one thing I think anyone should watch is Dave Chappelle's Inside the Actors Studio with James Lipton. It's a brilliant interview about artistry and about that that feeling. And so I think as an activist, and especially someone for me as a white man American. A lot of the work that I do is outside of my community. A lot of work I do is inside of my community. But a lot of who I fight for are not white men, Americans. And so in that work, I have to come to the work with a complete open heart and a complete humbleness of truthfulness and authenticity. And never, people would say, you want to be black. Well, I've consistently said I'm white. everywhere I've gone to make sure white people know that I am white and that I've never pretended or wanting to be or tried to pass of anything but myself and my true self of a white privileged American male, because that is how I come to the work, and that is how I want to be received in the work. So that authenticity and that truthfulness to me is critical in the work that I do in social justice and activism. And if I don't believe it, I'm not doing it. If my heart isn't there, if someone else is better for it, they should take it on, and I can be their cheerleader and be there and amplify the message and let them be involved in that issue. In the business side, the activism has really fed the business in a sense that I want to build a business, and I want to build businesses that are rooted in values and not necessarily issues, or not necessarily. So the values come from the activism, the compassion, the generosity, the equity. There's one thing to give everybody a pair of boots, but if one guy's boots cost $200, another guy's boots cost $4, the $4 pair of boots is going to fall apart real quickly. So I also believe in equity and not just equality, and so I'm wrapping my head around now, just to give you some insights of where I am from a business perspective. I'm wrapping my head around profit sharing, transparency, and my salary being transparent to my employees. And if the CEO of Citibank or Jamie Dimon's salary is transparent, he's, I don't know, 35 times the average worker's salary. I want to make sure my employees know that I'm not taking advantage of them and that my salary is not 35 times the average salary. So I'm thinking a lot about, like, how do you create profit sharing for everybody? Not just for the senior management. How do you create profit sharing for the person? And so I thought of this idea. I was on a hike with my girlfriend over the weekend, and we were talking about, I thought this idea of what if you took a year, and let's say you have $100 to give a profit, and everyone who's worked for you, you give them a percentage of how long they've been with you for that year. So if someone just started working for you 2 months ago, they get 1/6 of 1 point. If someone was there for the whole year, they get 1 point, and then everybody shares equally. Whether you're senior management or whether you're just starting out at $35,000 a year, everybody shares in profit equally. Now, in the beginning, the senior management may say, "This isn't fair. I'm senior," right? But as the profit rises, and everybody gets rich, maybe people will feel like we're a team, and that we're in this together, and it may not be for everybody. A senior manager may say, "Look, the other company I work for, we got bigger profit participation," or they didn't get any profit participation. So I'm thinking about these ideas of equity. If I'm going to live in a big house, I have a meeting with my staff in my home every Tuesday, and I told them, 2 days ago, I said, if I'm going to live in a house, and it's a big house, New York City standards, it's not big if you live in other parts of the country, but and I'm going to have a kid, and I'm going to have the benefits of being able to live that dream, that everyone who works for me should have those benefits. And I'm thinking a lot about that, and that's, I'm struggling to find business models. I look at Netflix as an example. So Netflix, a month ago announced they're going to give paternity and maternity leave for up to a year for any employee. So I was telling my girlfriend, I think that's brilliant. And she said, yes, but they have two companies. One is the streaming company, one is the DVD company. They're only giving it for the streaming company, not for the DVD company. And then you think, why? Streaming employees are blue-collar workers. Folks who package DVDs, right, just take a DVD off the shelf, put an envelope, and send it off its way, are the folks in the streaming are white-collar workers, and the folks are blue-collar workers. So they're not giving that benefit to blue-collar workers. Wow. Right? Is it because they don't deserve it? Is it because they make less money? So I'm thinking a lot about how to bring equity to business, how to challenge your own greed. Going back to the shirt, right? Of how to challenge yourself, of how much money do you need as a boss, and how do you how do you continue to give and give and give, even when times might seem tough, even when times you think like, damn, my bank account only got $400 in it, how am I going to make it to next week's payroll? You just got to keep giving.
Yeah, it's so profound what
So-
you're saying. I mean, and I think that, you know, so much of course, even what our work has been founded on is helping people distinguish, discern, and create these new models and these new ways of thinking and these new ways of doing business. And what I love about what you're saying is because I don't often feel like we have the frontline conversation is that we're struggling to figure these models out because we haven't done this before.
Absolutely.
Right? We've not done this before. So as much as we may think that social responsible business or values-driven business is an old concept, it really, really isn't. And people are playing with cooperative models. People are playing with profit-sharing models. People are playing with what we're calling flat organizations, right, where there is not the sort of the traditional hierarchy. There are other sort of kinds of configurations where there's more of a dynamic leadership model than a sort of didactic leadership model. And I think what you're naming in terms of the way that your activist is influencing your thinking about this is brilliant because, again, it's what you said. It isn't necessarily always about the issues that we lean into, but how do we extrapolate the values that are the underpinnings of the issues, right? Why the issues are issues for us is because we have the values. And how do the values lead the entrepreneurial journey? And so, you know, to that point, you know, we talk a lot about the field of culture, and we talk a lot about this idea of shifting culture. And, you know, clearly you're in the thick of it in the context of both the roles you play at GlobalGrind and the other facets of engagement, right, that you have in the work that you do with Russell and others. But I would love for you to talk about in what ways is this sort of like prime time for change? In what ways is this prime time for change? And I'd love for you to speak about it through the lens of both being an entrepreneur, through an artist, and an activist, right? Because again, you have that gorgeous trifecta going on. What do you see in terms of why this is such a prime time for change, for doing business in a different way?
Well, young people have inspired us to go for it, and you know, you talk to, you know, and hip hop, right? I mean, you know, Master P with the back of the trunk, and you know, Russell and LL Cool J and Def Jam and Rick Rubin putting this sticker on a record and pretending they had a record label called Def Jam, and it was the most iconic hip hop label of all time. And Mark Zuckerberg at 19 years old in a dorm room said, "I'm going to create this thing called the Facebook that's now, you know, has 1.5 billion people a month logging onto it." You're inspired by that. You're inspired by Black Lives Matter and Alicia and Opal and Patrice saying, you know, we're going to create a movement. I read the article in Politico today, you know, how a hashtag became a movement, and they were never just a hashtag. Those two might have been in the, you know, they've been doing the work for decades, right? They just happened to put a hashtag, you know, in 2013 that then everyone else started to use. So you're inspired by, that's entrepreneurship, right? That's looking at a movement and saying, how are we going to brand this and make this, you know, work, and make, you know, presidential candidates, you know, discuss these issues. You're inspired by the young folks in Ferguson, the DeRays and the Nettas and the Brittany Packneyets, and you know, folks who were there in the beginning who have built, you know, these amazing activist models of 21st century thinking. So you know, I was a good student. I did fine on my SATs. I was a theater major. I mean, I'm not Barack Obama. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. You know, when you sit with him, he's the smartest guy in the room.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to get to that because you have been in that room.
but you surround yourself, right, with the great ones. And I've been blessed enough to be able to do that. And that's a privilege and a blessing to be in the spaces, and not just talking about Barack Obama's, but you know, to be in the spaces with the folks in Ferguson who have challenged our country, right, to change. And we didn't know their names, you know, a year ago, or sit, you know, with the mothers. You know, Sabrina Fulton and Judy, I'm sorry, and Leslie McSpadden, and these folks who really have shown resilience, you know, incredible resilience during unbelievable times of pain and struggle. So, yeah, I think what the beginning of it I don't think we have at all to even gotten below the surface of where this country can go. And business, you know, they say when Harry Belafonte said when the movement is strong, the music is strong. And when the movement is strong, you know, you feel like, man, we could really change.
We really do something.
And the movement is really strong right now. It's unbelievably strong. And so I think you're seeing people be unbelievably creative in business and try new models. I think you made a good point. We don't have all the answers, and it's okay not to. I mean, I don't have all the answers. It's okay not to have all the answers. And I don't know if this model will work but it's worth trying. It's worth trying because too many folks have been locked out. Too many folks have been paid unfairly, especially women. I mean, and black women. I mean, it's not just a gender issue, right? It's a race issue.
Yeah.
At its core, too many folks have not had access, and there's way too many talented people who have been locked out and not have access to not try. I don't hire on resume because I believe in affirmative action, right? So then how would I hire just based on resume? I have to sit with someone and hear from them. I believe this country has not uplifted women. I believe this country has not uplifted the LGBT. I believe this country has not uplifted the immigrant community or the black community. So I have to sit with someone. I just hired somebody who was working in a ramen noodle factory 2 months ago, and this young man is brilliant. I mean, brilliant. And he's undocumented and just never had a shot.
I know Dana wants. We want to open it up for some questions, but I just want to name and underscore this one thing that you are saying, which I feel so deeply, Michael, as well in my bones, is that greatness is everywhere.
That's right.
You know, it's no longer sort of in the ivory towers or the hollowed halls or the marble floor. You know, that greatness is really everywhere, and I think that's what, if these movements are teaching us anything, is I feel like it's that, right? That it's everywhere, right?
That's right.
Okay, Dana, I want to turn it back to you so we can get some other questions in. Michael, you know, you and I could go on and on. Very easily. So we want to open up and get some other voices up in here.
Yeah, no, thank you. You know that I certainly didn't want to like jump in the middle of that. Instead, I was trying to just keep up with the Twitter machine with all this juicy conversation. So we've got two questions, at least two, that have come through that I want to make sure we get to because they came right up at the top. They were ready with them. So the first one is from Lex, and she asks, so many of us try to build businesses that do well by people in communities, build businesses that are doing something new, and for those of us in social justice work, how do you tackle cynicism, and how have you tackled it well, lifted it?
Tackle cynicism?
Yes.
Well, Lex Schroeder, I see you are a amazing Twitter person. You've tweeted more of my statements than I think anyone in the history of Twitter.
She has, and she is in general.
So I appreciate you, Lex Schroeder, because now my statements are on the public record, and and in front of Congress, they will ask my emails. I've always been an optimist. I've always been. Hip hop taught me that. You know, hip hop. I just believed in us. I believe. I mean, Rha, you did such a beautiful thing. Greatness is everywhere. I love people. I love being challenged. I love being around interesting people. I used to read just the sports page and the arts and leisure page in the newspaper. When I had an internship when I was a kid at a theater producer, and she said, Michael, you've got to read every section of the newspaper. Stop just reading two sections. Read the Tuesday Science Times and read, the business section, because you never know who you're going to meet. You never know what party you're going to be at. You never know what event you're going to be invited to, and you always want to be able to have a conversation. You never want to be locked out of a conversation because you just don't know what to say. And so if we were going to talk about the Iran vote in Congress, I think I could talk about it. Talking about the Syrian refugees have been heavy on all of our hearts.
Yes.
Conversations. I want to talk about, the playoff race, in the Mets and the Yankees in first place. I could talk about it. So I love information. I love knowledge. I love learning. And these are things instilled by me, by my parents, by the generation, by hip hop. So, when the cynicism is real though, but hurt people, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't. The cynicism hurts when you start judging the person who makes those judgments towards you or towards your work, because you just don't know. You know, someone said to me in my company 2 days ago, man, this other person had a really bad, rough day today, and I don't know why, and I think we have to have a conversation about this person. And I said, you may not know this, but that person, that day was a very significant, painful day of that person's life. It was an anniversary, something very significant. And you know, you're not going to know that if I stayed up all night tonight with my child because he's sick and he doesn't want to go to sleep, and I have to, you know, I get 2 hours of sleep, but I got to go to work and I got to smile, and I got to make, and I can't tell anyone how tired I am. I got to keep drinking coffee. And so if I snap at someone, then damn, Michael's an asshole. Well, no, maybe I just was tired. And maybe you just check me and say, you know what, Michael, I know you're tired. Something's going on. You're just not talking to me the right way. Could you just take a moment and breathe? Right? And so I've tried hard to not judge people's actions so much, but really try to understand intention. Because people are inherently good, and that cynicism usually comes from a place of rejection, of pain. Most of the time, their parents tell them they couldn't do it, they weren't good enough. What are you doing? You should have gone. You should have gone to law school. Why are you trying to start this T-shirt company? Why are you trying to do this coaching thing? You should have been, a doctor. So I just try to believe hard that people are good, and that cynicism is coming from a place that usually has nothing to do with that current moment.
Yeah.
I hope at Lex Schroeder was, hey, no, you are. You're looking at me tweeting to me. I love you, Lex Schroeder.
We're kissing you. We're kissing you, Lex. Yeah. We're kissing you.
Follow me.
I think
Lex Schroeder is Director of Strategies and Partnerships at Take Lead.
Take the lead, women. Take the lead.
That's right.
Women.
I was just gonna
connect with people and ideas. Writing whenever I get the chance. # 25, not 95.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right. It's all about the parity, and Lex Schroeder is a brilliant strategist. I've known her for several years, so we're happy. This is the well, maybe she'll come to the mastermind on the 26th.
Oh, good.
Yep. But this is the kind of community, right? These are, it's like the thoughtful questions, the like enthusiastic support, right? Talking about, Diamond Mike's story at the top all the way to like Lex Schroeder here in the Q&A. So we've got another question if you got it. So this one, let's see. This one comes in from a guest, and I'm not sure the name. It shows up as guest Barbie in our thing, and that gives you random names. So it could be Barbie. So she asks, Michael, how do you live in this world you speak of when we live in a nation built on capitalism, meaning we're taught to feel good by consuming, and it's a hard cycle to break?
Well, we're built in a nation of exploitation, of free labor. Which was slavery, right? So that wasn't capitalism. That was, a horrific foundation for our nation. And then we kind of pretended it was capitalism, when slavery was over and that everyone could have a chance. And we still kind of pretend it's capitalism. But I struggle a lot with capitalism. I believe in the system. I'm a exploiter, right? I buy stuff. I go to Whole Foods, right? And I buy expensive cheese. So, I'm in the game. But I think we can redefine it as a generation. I don't think we need to get rid of it. I've been to Cuba many, many times. I think socialism and other forms of economic systems are also very beautiful and have been tried, and some have worked and some have not worked. Capitalism seems to be the one that continues to work, but also white people continue to be the dominant class and the dominant race, and so it's worked for some and not for all. And so I think a lot about how do we redefine that so the system does work for all, and that I'm a firm believer that the issues in this country begin with race, and then continue with class and gender and other things. But I do believe they begin with race, and we have to address our racial problems in this country before we can even get to class, because there were black successful businessmen and women in the 1920s. There were black doctors, there were black lawyers, there were black business people. And there were black politicians in the 1890s. So I don't believe that it's just now that we have a black president or we have black rich people that now it's just about class. Yeah. So I think a lot about race when I think about capitalism, and not just about it's a free open market and everyone can make it, because that's not the case, and we know that's not the case if we're honest with ourselves. So I would like to leave a little bit of something behind that redefines it and that challenges the system to make it fair and equal and equitable for everybody. Mm-hmm. I'm not a great change maker to change the system. I know that, and I'm okay with that. But if I can do something, I think I can sleep at night. But I struggle. I think at Barbie, I struggle. I struggle with that because I don't want to continue a system that has raped and pillaged large groups of people, and it's incredibly shameful. What we've used the capitalistic system to exploit people and continue to do so. It's not just a thing in the past. We see it all over the world. So I struggle with it.
I just want to add that I think our commitment to also struggle with these new models is part of this contribution of that legacy, right? Because I think that I so appreciate your question as well, because I think that we who have conscience, who feel ourselves and see ourselves as people of conscience and people of values, struggle with a lot of these systemic ways of operating, right? And so I know that for us, in the context of our work, what we always are asking, we describe ourselves as a company, we describe ourselves as a community of practice, and we describe ourselves as a movement. And we feel like we are all of those things, right? And this idea of, one entrepreneur at a time, how do we make a dent? How do we continue to make a dent by being willing to wrestle with these systems and being willing to wrestle with these structures to find and discover and create potentially something new, right? Another evolution, or whatever that is beyond capitalism. We may not have the name for it yet, right? But this idea of we call it an economy of true paid and good. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm. Thank you for that. So I just want to be mindful of our time, and I know you've got a little Mateo running around there.
And looking for you.
Yes, looking for Daddy. So I just, I want to say thank you, and I'll let Rha give you both give your last words and thoughts here. But I just want to say to everyone out there watching, and especially to Lex Schroeder, thank you for your contribution and your conversations, questions tonight, and all of the times in which you join us in the Move the Crowd community. And just know that we're always available. Obviously, we do this every month. We don't have Michael every month, but we had Latham last month, which was a steamer. You can tune in to our YouTube channel. It's to watch the recaps, or also, of course, our blog, movethecrowd.me/blog, to catch the recaps of these monthly web chats. So we also really want to see you. If you are in the area, or like I said, have the travel bug, we want to see you on September 26th in New York City. You will be able to join Michael and join Rha. I will not be there. Maybe you'll join Lex Schroeder and anyone else who tuned in tonight with us. And there's an amazing Move the Crowd community. We have an incredible panel of experts that will be digging in with the members of our academy, and just really digging in on the mastermind. And this is a whole group cipher with imagine bringing your business, right, and your vision into a rich room of like-minded visionaries and experts and values-driven professionals and entrepreneurs with a wide wide realm of expertise, and they'll get inside your business with you. And there's so much more that happens in workshops, and you can learn all about it at movethecrowd.me/mm-15-NYC, and I will send that out to y'all in an email, and you can find it on our Twitter stream. So Rha.
Thank you so much. There's two things I want to say. First of all, I want to just thank everybody so much for coming out tonight. I'm going to give Michael the final words in like 2 seconds. The two things I want to say to you all is that, in the opportunity to join us on September 26th, we aren't just going to be in the conversations, you all. We're going to do the work, because we understand that we've got to bring the theory and the practicum together. And it's one of the things that I love most about Michael is he's not just about theory, he's also about the practicum. And and the day and the way that the day is designed with Michael and all of the other amazing speakers and experts who are going to be in the room and entrepreneurs who are going to be in the room, we are going to be rolling up our sleeves as well and doing the work. So I do want to say to you, if you're really wanting to forward your business in a very concrete, nitty-gritty way, the day is also a great and phenomenal opportunity for you. The second thing I want to say is that as a takeaway to our work, right, so homework for this month is that in our recap email, you are going to get a downloadable tip and tool, because y'all know how we roll. Again, it's all about the practices, which is actually going to support you in being able to look at what is essential for you, what is essential for your success, and how do you begin to articulate it, how do you begin to understand it, and how do you begin to create a structure that supports and enables you to go to work on the things that are essential for your success. And so I want you to be on the lookout for that in the follow-up email. It's been such a joy and an honor and a privilege to have you, my brother. I cannot wait for us to continue to dig in on the 26th. And I really just want to turn to you just for final thoughts, final words, anything you want to say to the amazing, amazing folks who are listening to this conversation tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's interesting when you say theory and practical. I've never even thought of having a theory, so it's to say these things out loud is also amazing for me to hear that actually might be able to put 2 words into a sentence. I'm thinking a lot about this situation in Europe and the Syrian refugees. And I'm thinking a lot about just about humanity and about and about people and about families and about children and about mothers and fathers and seeing there are people all over this world, whether they're in Hungary, walking across Hungary to get to Germany, or in Ferguson for 300 and 400 plus days. There are folks that are really willing to die, to be safe, and to feel free, and to be at peace. And so I just think a lot about, it's hard to watch, because you know that not everybody has the same compassion you might have. And some people may just dismiss them, or may just dismiss those people, or those kids, or those refugees, or those thugs. But Ava DuVernay told me a story one time, the Oscar-nominated director of Selma, that she was one of those kids in the riots in LA in 1992 who took sneakers out of the Foot Locker. And she went on to make one of the most beautiful films you might have ever seen. And so there are people who just want to be at peace. And as you said, Rha, there's greatness in so much of our hearts and our minds. And as you build your business, and as you build your resumes, and as you build your companies, meet with everybody. Don't just meet with the ones who you think are going to get you a deal and the ones who you think are going to... You have no idea who's going to get you the deal. You have no idea who's going to change your life. You have no idea who you're going to hire next. You might think, oh, I want the one who went to the Ivy League school. I want the one who worked for the president. Or I want the one who did this or did that. But the one who came from the ramen noodle factory who's undocumented, he might be the best employee you've ever had in your life. And so, I see these people fighting for humanity and for dignity and for peace and freedom. And I see others judging them and calling them names, or Donald Trump categorizing people. We don't want to do that. We don't want to be those people. We don't want to live that life of judgment and hate. Or we want to be open. We want to be open to the world and open to our hearts to who might enter it. And that might be a great story of a Rwandan refugee who just opened her home in Germany to a Syrian refugee. 20 years ago after the genocide in Rwanda, and Germany took her in and she opened her home to a Syrian family. That's just magnificent human being. So, I wake up every day. My calendar is full. My meetings are on the hour every hour. I had a great meeting today with the mother of an NBA basketball player who in her own right is an accomplished artist, about bringing peace to streets in Chicago and her art. And she said, "Why did you meet with me?" I said, "I hang out with you for an hour." And it was awesome. And so do that, right? Meet with folks all the time, and folks who don't have jobs and folks who have jobs. And it brings me great joy, and I think it can bring you great joy too. If you're not doing it yet, I'm sure many of you already are. But don't say no to people when they come knocking on your door to come meet you or ask for a job, because you just never know, that person may, in fact, impact your life more than you ever could imagine. So that's what's on my mind tonight at 8:30.
This is how we invest, y'all, and this is how we grow. Michael, I thank you so much. Big love. Cannot wait to see you in a couple of weeks. Dana, thank you so much for holding it down as you always do. Everybody have a great, great night. And let's keep the conversation going with ourselves, with each other. Hit us up on all of those channels. It is our honor and our privilege to serve you. Always, always, always. Thank you so much. We love you, and good night.